Hello. Today I'm going to cook a dish using celeriac. Now with my celeriac, what I'm going to do is a lovely kind of Korean style. I'm going to use the air fryer, but to tenderize the celeriac first, I'm going to have to boil it. So I just have some lightly salted water here, and I've cut my celeriac, and using half a celeriac, into 3 large pieces, and I'm just letting those simmer away in the water just until they become a little bit tender before I finish it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a kale kind of puree, which is going to use kale, which I'm going to lightly cook. When it's still warm, I'm going to just take it off. I'm just going to cook it in just simply boiling water with a little bit of salt. I'm going to drain it off. While it's still hot, I'm going to puree it up with a little bit of garlic and a little bit of cottage cheese. And it's going to get this lovely, rich, deep green kale colour and lovely rich flavour. And then the marinade, the paste I'm going to put over the celeriac to give it a lovely Korean feel is a Korean chili paste. And I'm going to just mix that. I'm just going to get a little bit more caramelization on it. I'm going to add a little bit of honey into that. And I'll just do that now actually while I'm talking. I'm going to add about a tablespoon of honey. So there's my Korean chili paste. You can buy this in a good Asian shop. It's Gochujang. I'm not going to even try to pronounce it, but I'm going to put about into that Korean chili paste just so it'll caramelize a little better. About 2 teaspoonfuls or a tablespoon of honey, and I'm also going to put about 25 ml of olive oil into that. I'm just going to mix those around, and then I'm going to smear that all over my celeriac and then pop it in the air fryer and allow those to cook for about 20 minutes in the air fryer just to get a lovely kind of chariness to it. So I'm going to let this cook away here. And one thing I'd love to talk about here is kale as well. As part of an anti-inflammatory diet and for arthritis management, kale is certainly one of those, I suppose you could term it as superfood, although all good food is super. But with kale, it's loaded with vitamins, with minerals. It's very high in antioxidants. It's got a small amount of omega-3s in it, alpha-linolic acids. And again, it's very high in vitamin C, vitamin K, and it's a great source for minerals. And the fiber from kale is, it's getting that fiber into your diet is such an important part of the management of anti-inflammatory diet and the management of arthritis, keeping fiber, keeping the whole system working. So I'm going to strongly say kale, as much as possible, get it into your diet. And by mixing with the cottage cheese, it allows me to bring plenty of protein into this, because cottage cheese is an exceptionally good source of protein. And that's because if I don't use something like cottage cheese or beans or a protein, then it's essentially just a vegetarian side dish. It needs to be a good balanced meal. So it's got its proteins, it's got your carbs, lots of fiber, and a good spectrum of minerals and vitamins. So I'm going to get on and keep cooking this dish now. So with my celeriac, it's just boiling away there. And now when it becomes tender, just put a knife through it and you'll be able to tell very quickly if it's cooked through. I'm going to just take that off and hold it hot. You don't have to hold it hot, it'll stay hot itself. And I'm going to just pop that in a bowl. And then I have this nice water here, so I'm just going to top it up with a little bit more water and use the same water to cook my kale. As my water is just coming back to a boil there, that's because I've used that water already for the celeriac, which is just off. But as it's coming back to the boil, I'm now going to take my celeriac and I will very quickly toss that with my chili paste. So what I've done here is I've got my Korean chili paste, some honey, and my olive oil. And there is my celeriac. I'll just take that there, just as I'm waiting for that water to come back to the boil. And I'm just going to very simply take my purees, and I'm going to smear that all over my celeriac. Covering it good and generously, all of the celeriac just smeared around. Nice and tickly. Okay, so with this celeriac, I've just coated it liberally with my chili paste, my Korean mix, and now I'm just going to put that onto a piece of greaseproof paper. Again, put any of the surplus sauce just over the last pieces of celeriac. And the greaseproof paper just stops making a mess in your air fryer. And I'm going to transfer that over and cook it in the air fryer in around 20 minutes and just get it nice and charry and cooked through. As my kale, or my water I should say, Comes to a nice rolling boil. I'm now going to add all of my kale in together. It will cook down into quite a small amount actually. So that's my kale. I'm just going to pat it down into the water, cover it up, and bear in mind kale does take a little bit of cooking, so we'll cook this for about 4 minutes, have a check in it, and then take it from there. So here's my kale, and as you can see it's this lovely bright vibrant colour. Now don't forget I've blanched this or cooked this in lightly salted water, so I shouldn't really need any more seasoning in this. But again, that's down to your taste. So I'm just going to pop all of my kale into my blender. Then I'm just going to pop my 2 cloves of garlic in. They're raw, but there's heat already in the kale. And then I'm going to also pop my cottage cheese in here. Additionally, I'm going to put about 15 ml of olive oil into this mixture. And then I'm just going to cover it up and blend it up. That little mix up. And there's my kale blended up. And I have this lovely flavoursome and quite a high protein puree, which I'm going to be then using to serve my celeriac. Now to finish my dish, there's my nice cottage cheese kale puree and my, let's call it a Korean barbecued celeriac. I kind of like that name. So there's my lovely celeriac just out of the air fryer. I gave it 20 minutes. Do be kind of turning it as it's cooking in the air fryer as well. And then to serve it, all I need is a generous portion of my kale. And kind of flatten it down a little bit. And then I'm going to take my Korean barbecued celeriac and just put that along my kale, just like so. Kind of a generous portion here, but it's for sharing maybe. Unless, of course, you don't want to share. And there it is, Korean barbecued celeriac, cottage cheese and kale puree.